Okay, so we're pretty convinced Join Forces is bad. I'm pretty sure Rada isn't that good. 3/3s for 4 mana. There's a lot of them in this format, and it's kind of disappointing. I legitimately don't know. I kind of think I just take up the shield here. That sounds like a really bad idea, but like, what else am I supposed to do? Phyrexian Rager? How mad are we to play Lockdown? I will literally never play Lockdown in any deck, ever, in Limited. That does not seem like where we ought to be. Of these cards, Rootwalla feels like the only one that's exciting early on. I guess you could try to do like blue-black control-y nonsense. Take the Aeronaut and try to go into domain. This doesn't feel like the most exciting domain card, though. I guess Rootwall is inherently also a domain card. I think I'd rather... I don't know. Not a encouraging start, I would say. I'd be happy taking the Tolarian Terror if I had taken the Rona's Vortex last pack. Try Defendering. This seems like potentially a late point in the draft to hop into Coral Colony nonsense. Pick 3. Yeah. Nail's pretty busted if it hits with domain. Yeah. Hypothetically, I could take the Outrider and try to go for the domain deck again. I suppose this is kind of a pivot point where we're choosing between going into domain or going into defenders. Domain is probably open more frequently. Yeah, Sprouting Goblin. That's gotta be pretty okay for a domain deck. Correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't this card better than like every card we've seen in every pack so far? We have to be supposed to take Strength of the Coalition over a dual land, right? As much as that hurts. It's unlikely we'll wheel a land out of this pack, but like, it seems too strong to not do. And of the stuff in this pack, it's either... I don't know whether Bellow is something I like more than Colossal Growth, but it's probably Sojourners, because we seem to be pretty hard into the Teamer thing. So is Pixie Illusionist a bad card that we should never take, or do we take it because it does do domain things? And currently with 0 lands and pretty forced into the domain game plan, I feel like I need to take something that enables it. There's definitely the possibility we don't run this, but I think that of everything in that pack, it's the one that's like the most necessary. I'm going to assume Shadow Prophecy is better than Timely Interference if we're trying to go for a 5-color nonsense thing. It's Kicker, not Domain Plan. I mean, it does do the Domain Plan. It's got an activated ability that lets you hit your missing domain types. Mana Worker does that job better, kind of, in terms of fixing your colors, but not fixing your actual mechanic domain. What do you do? 2/3 for 3 with Menace, return something, sacrifice it. I gotta feel like I'd probably have a mana worker over that. Do you do anything? Kicker. I don't think we want Enthrall to the Pit. I also don't think we want Tide Turner, but what else are we going to do? Negate. I don't really want to be in blue more than I have to be. Defiler of Dreams again? Okay. So we have Phyrexian Missionary on the splash to get back Outriders. We have Defiler of Dreams, currently Pixie Illusionist, Nail for it. We have Micromancer grabbing Strength of the Coalition that's kind of interesting to me. And we try to wheel either Scout the Wilderness of Sojourner, or we just take the Ridge line. I want to do Micromancer Strength of the Coalition, but I'm pretty sure we just have to take Ridgeline. I think I just have to, like, hyper-aggressively take lands. I'm really far behind the point where I could do anything else. Here, I'm pretty sure we just take Vine Wall. That has to be, like, a pretty good thing for Domain, right? And then hope we wheel one of the 2 lands, which is probably likely. Mossbeard Ancient I have to assume is decent, but yeah. Don't play Vine Wall outside of walls. Even in Domain decks, huh? You think just taking the land is better? I love a Talus Lookout, but it's probably Battling Mystic, right? Chaplain New Plan. I don't think we're pivoting into walls here. Don't loathe Bite Down, but yeah, Battling Mystic just seems like a pretty good card. Micromancer gets really good when you take the first repossession. That's true. We haven't seen very many of those yet, but that is something that makes sense to me. Second Magnagoth Sentry probably worse than first Brute Walla. Chaplain requires a less setup than you think. Maybe. I guess I wouldn't say that I don't believe that. Feels like we just need Scout the Wilderness for this deck, and nothing else in the pack looks terribly impressive. There's a repossession, but I somewhat doubt that we are going to wheel the Micromancer. Take Marsh. Don't think it's too late to pivot. It's totally worth the risk here. We really thought going into Defenders at that point was where we wanted to be, when we like already have a lot of payoffs for being in Domain. Is Defenders that good? Because I suppose that's what maybe I'm underrating how worthwhile it is to go into Defenders. Do you do anything? No, you don't. You do not do anything. Second Shadow Prophecy. This card's probably good. Second Scout the Wilderness. Card's probably not awful. Mostly Chaplain is that good. Defenders aren't that good. Okay. So we think we could try to pick up some of the Tutor Defenders and just make Chaplain work in a Domain deck. No Standard tonight. Nope. We have this weekend a qualifier coming up that's limited, so I'm going to learn limited. Don't think we need the Mana Worker. Maybe we need the second Mana Worker? I don't know. Sojourners felt really good last time. Gibbering Barricade, sacrifice a creature, gain a life, draw a card. I'm not too into the mana colors, though. Maybe I'm supposed to take the white-black card there, because it is a pretty decent card. I'm definitely supposed to hate draft Heroic Charge. Ooh, wow. Ditched a 3/3. Love to see it. Sam Black and I just think Chaplain is just the best card in any rarity in the format since you can tutor it. is that true of a mid-pack pick, or is that a pack one pick one? Because those are two very different evaluations. Here, we could pick up Iconoclast, or we could just pick up a land we don't have yet, which would probably be green-white. I think I want the green-white land. Ooh. Okay. Solkanar. Solkanar, which is hypothetically splashable, or Battlewing Mystic, or lands. How good is Solkanar in Limited? With 3 lands in the pack, we were pretty likely to get one back. Yeah, but we're also pretty likely to get a land back if I take a land. Very good. It's great. Okay. We're in for Grixis. So, Rada. Is Rada a card you want in Domain? Alternatively, you could play Destroy Evil. Destroy Evil is better. That's sort of what I'm thinking might be the case. Rada's meh. Yeah. Electrostatic? No, I'm not interested in Electrostatic. Electrostatic is a card you want to be able to play on turn 2 and then get benefit out of. I do not think that we are likely to be able to play it on turn 2, and I don't think we get too much benefit out of it either. Joda's Codex versus Gaia's Might. Aaron? Nah, we definitely can't play a double white card. I don't think. There's also Urborg Repossession. Urborg over Codex, possibly. We are... Alright, I'll experiment with Urborg Repossession. If folks keep talking it up, I eventually have to find out how good it is. This one's probably just Iconoclast. Codex is fine, but not great. Even in Domain decks. Although our Domain is a little worse here by virtue of not having as many lands as we had last time, so I need to lower my expectations. And it wasn't even necessarily great last time. Terra Sunder's great? I mean, it is removal. We value 4 mana removal over the good 3/2 creature with haste? Okay. I'll believe you. I'll believe chat. Codex is great if you're trying to get how good cards are in sealed. Okay. That more tracks with my expectations because it was a great card when I played it in sealed. My instinct is to take Colossal Growth because I love combat tricks, but I'm assuming that in our deck we're probably more into Tribute. And this is just a pretty easy land. And this looks like a pretty easy Outrider. Wow, I didn't even think that was going to be in the pack this late. Alright. And this was the pack 1, pick 1. We wheeled a single land out of it when I believe I took a land. But happy to wheel a land. This was the next pack. We wheeled no lands. Do we take the Restoration? I don't know. Can this return my opponent's things? No. Bummer. Ooh, sweet. More badgers. Love me a badger. Love a badger. You, like, do domain things, right? Do you do good domain things? Things like a 3-mana 3/2 Scry Sum? Shieldred's Restoration is really bad. I mean, that's what I'm expecting. But also, we can get an Outrider back with it. And between Urborg Repossession and Shieldred's Restoration, we can try to live the 20 damage Outrider dream again. Okay, so we are at... very few red sources, according to autofill, which is potentially concerning. 3/2 isn't a good domain card, but it's a good curve filler. Okay, and we don't really need curve fillers on 2, or on 3. So, happy to cut that. Sea Scavenger is basically the same as the Librarian. Presumably it's better in this deck, because it's Scry 3, rather than Scry 2 most of the time on turn 3, possibly better. But yeah, not playing either also sounds appealing. I guess the Librarian doesn't cost blue, and that probably actually would make it better in this deck anyway. So how many white sources do we have? 3 plains. 4 mountains. 6 swamps. We don't need this many islands. Do we think our mana's good enough that we don't need to play the Illusionist now? Because I feel like I can probably cut the Illusionist, not play this many islands, get to play a Plains. How many green duels? 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Probably want more green sources than this, so cut another island for a forest. It's not Scry 5, we can only put one on top. That's true. Cut Scar. Scar? Which one's Scar, or am I missing something? Or is that one that I already cut? $18 lands in domain decks. Oh, okay. Okay. I can kind of get behind that. 5, 8, 10, 13, 17. All right, so we could cut 2 cards and play 1 more. We could hypothetically cut Shieldred's Restoration without too much concern. If we want to run 18 lands, what would be the next cut? Yeah, Double Scout and Vine Wall are essentially lands. This is true. And I don't know that I see an easy cut. Okay, well then, assuming we want to prioritize black and green, and then following that prioritize red for Sprouting Goblin, which wants to be an early card. How do we feel at that point? Bear in mind, Scout the Wilderness currently finds any off-color land. Because we're actually capable of playing every basic in this deck currently, assuming we don't change that. 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 green sources. I wouldn't hate having one more, considering that Scouting the Wilderness and Sprouting Goblin is a pretty big portion of our fixing. We have a Mana Worker, which makes that a little easier. Black sources are currently 6. Six might be a little much, but Shadow Prophecy is a card we'd like to have on curve some of the time. How many graveyard recursion spells do we have, and how many is too many? Currently we have 1. Hypothetically, more is better. What is generally a good idea to play 18 lands? I've never understood that about limited in general. So that is a complicated answer to a relatively simple question. And the relatively simple question is this a format where you lose to A, running out of resources, or B, missing land drops more often? And if you can actually quantify those 2% of the times, how often they happen, and you actually lose because of them, not just fall behind and not just feel bad and not just have them happen, but how often do they actually change whether you win or lose the game? And then you weigh those two against each other, and then hypothetically, predictively weigh them against each other in the context of a deck you're building. That is what makes the difference between whether you run 18 or 17. So for example, cards like Tormenting Voice, there's a trap that people fall into where they will say, this is card draw. This means I get to run fewer lands, and Tormenting Voice will find me my lands because it is card draw. And Divination kind of does that. Divination hypothetically means you can run fewer lands, although it hypothetically also means that you can run more lands and run out of resources less often. But Tormenting Voice specifically is much, much better when it is discarding lands. And so what it really lets you do, if you have a deck that for some reason you're running 3 Tormenting Voices in, you actually run 18 lands, you are less likely to miss land drops, and then also less likely to run out of resources in the late game because you can discard lands to Tormenting Voice. So Tormenting Voice is a card that is stronger on both sides of that equation in terms of winning more, but more so when you have extra lands. So aside from being somewhat uncertain about the distribution of mana here and not being entirely convinced that I want this many swamps, I guess Sprouting Goblin is just fairly reasonable even if we don't kick it. We don't necessarily need to have a lot of red on curve to hit this on 3. We got 8 green sources. I think I want to cut a swamp for a forest here. I think I want to have 9 green sources for my Vine Wall, my Root Walla, and my Scout the Wildernesses and Bog Badgers on curve. Very busted decks are likely to want more lands. Underpowered decks may feel pressured to run fewer lands because they're more likely to run out of resources. Yeah. I do think that is a general consideration that weighs. If your deck is really busted, the more busted your deck is, the more the larger a percentage of the games that you lose are lost because of not hitting your land drops. Because you're just not as likely to get to the point where you have completely run out of resources, because you're probably going to win the game before that happens, or just not have that happen, depending on the method by which your deck is considered a good deck, whether it's a good aggressive deck or a good controlling deck. Both are less likely to reach the point in the game where they run out of resources, or less likely to have it matter if they do run out of resources, in the case of an aggressive deck that just wins the game after it runs out of resources. Do I really need 4 red sources? The Battlewing Mystic looks kind of bad in terms of being castable anywhere other than the late game, but maybe that's just fine. The alternatives are essentially just playing Thrill of Possibility, which doesn't seem horrifically interesting. Or I guess we could play the Shieldred's Restoration. I don't think this is bad. I don't think it's horribly bad. It's mostly bad. 7 mana to get back an 8-drop, gain 8 life. I mean, that's cool. And Shadow Prophecy does fill our graveyard. Probably still wrong. Probably not better than Battlewing Mystic. Assuming we're reliable about activating Domain. And again, I guess I got Salvage Metalworker. Okay, I think this is good. Boop, boop, boop. And I will be right back. Alright. We're going to call this good. Oh, and because we actually included a white card, Arena considers this to actually be a 5-color deck this time. I feel like I should be proud about that. How many wins would I predict? I don't know. Probably 2 and 1. Easier to predict if you've got, like... It's more meaningful to predict something, I think, if you're playing 7 rounds as opposed to 3. Why draft instead of sealed? It's probably good enough. My assumption is that... What am I playing on turn 1 here? I have no capacity to play anything on turn 2, so it doesn't matter. My assumption is that whether or not I make it to day 2 is kind of up to luck of the sealed. And I also think that I am generally a better sealed player than I am a draft player. Would I rather play Metalworker or Rootwalla? I don't think I'm going to actually block with Mana Worker because they have the threat to pump it. You do know to yield to sealed to day 2. Is that true? I thought that wasn't the case. I thought it was draft. I don't have a reason to be playing draft then at all if that's the case, but I was pretty sure it was draft. All sealed? Oh. Okay, so my Rootwalla... Well, okay, we're going to be practicing sealed then. What am I thinking of that's draft? Is that the next Arena Open? Is sealed day 1, draft day 2? I know something is that. Oh, they got me. They got me. So we're going to miss the land drop here. Is it better to play a 4/6 or to not miss the land drop, do we think? My opponent also missed a land drop, notably. So I guess in that case, I'd just rather make the land drops for the next 2 turns. I'm assuming I'm guaranteed to win this in the late game, so I should just actively trade the Rootwalla off with the Goblin Picker. And I feel like if my opponent's sitting here on 2 mana, it's pretty likely they have the ability to remove the Sojourner. So I kind of just want to get that out of the way. Speaking of, if they have the ability to remove the Sojourner, do I just chill on playing the Sojourner? And just play our Badger friend instead? Because again, I think I'm winning this game off the strength of my hand's resources, and would prefer to not give my opponent an opening to blow me out with removal. We chill, we chill, we chill. We continue to chill? Or no chill? Continue to chill or no chill? Strength is pretty busted. 4 mana. My opponent left up 2 mana, which makes me think... Oh, can I not play Nail leaving up Strength? That's a bummer. Okay, let's kick this and just hold up Strength as a +2/+2. I feel like at this point, I have enough resources that I can make profitable double blocks on my opponent's turn. And I believe I want a green source. I'm operating under the assumption that I want to be able to Nail plus hold up Strength next turn. Oh, I had Mana Worker. I could have played Nail plus Strength this turn. That was the better play. That was the better play. Alright. Learning to remember how our cards work successfully. Cool. Cavalier is completely ignorable. You sacrifice lands from play, so we play our lands, and we play our Nail, and we play our Sojourner, and we flood the board. So they have to kill our Nail. Protector doesn't do very much. So we swing with Nail. And what else? Pay no attention to this pre-combat Bog Badger opponent. It doesn't mean anything, especially since I'm not kicking it. Don't worry, opponent. None of this is suspicious at all. I feel like that was probably pretty obvious. I could have kicked the Bog Badger and actually connected with Nail and drew a card, which was maybe better than developing my board and killing their creature. I don't know. Keldon Strike Team, which allows my opponent to make essentially no good attacks, still. Terra Sunder seems neat. Think we just draw a card. Outrider seems like fun. Urborg Repossession also sounds fun. What could we get back? Strength of the Coalition. Okay, well. Unfortunately, Outriders, I don't think you're the grab this time because I think I want to gain life. So let's get back Root Walla. Oh, it has to be a permanent? Oh no, this was a mistake. Oh well. I mean, for a mistake, it's still a pretty strong mistake. I think I'm too short on mana to play Root Walla profitably. So I think I just thin the deck and make a couple of 1/1s instead. Suspect kicking the Badger and drawing a card was better just because the opponent could remove Nail. Well, they were tapped out that turn, right? But you mean on a future turn? That's true. That's true. I could see that. More Keldon Strike team. Alright. Opponent's board's getting to the place where an overrun effect would be relatively intimidating. But I don't think I actually have like any meaningfully profitable attacks either. Hmm, 4/6 or 2/1/1s? Probably the 4/6 because it costs less mana. But we do want to start looting away our lands in play at some point. Heroic charge time? Heroic charge time. Okay, so our blocks are as such. Blockity biggie, blockity biggie. Four, three, three. No, actually, so you blockity the first striker biggie. You block a biggie. You block a biggie. You block that. No, you block that. 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 Is that best? Does that seem mostly optimal? I kind of wonder if I'm supposed to leave one relatively large creature unblocked to use a removal spell on. When they charge. Oh, that's a problem. How much is that? 5, 10? Only 10? Only 10. Only 9, because I can do this in response to the ability. Okay, do I win? Feel like I win. Okay. I don't know what the math on charge was, but Skyrider, definitely not good enough. I bet we want Smash to Dust, huh? So notably, we won at 2 life. Do we credit taking Urborg Repossession for that win? I'm totally okay having summoned the card that almost won but doesn't win into the opponent's hand. We can do that any day. Do we not like Destroy Evil against the opponent's deck? I'm going to assume we don't really like Destroy Evil against the opponent's deck. Which makes me wonder if we cut the planes, but probably doesn't make us cut the planes. But if we summon a card that doesn't even come close to winning, they might accidentally play another card that does win. If we summon the really scary looking card that doesn't quite win, we make it easier for them to misplay by playing it, right? Okay, Flurious Vinewall looking solid. Hmm. 2/2 first striker attacks through Vinewall pretty well. Vinewall, we have green and black, so would I rather have red or white? Considering I actually have 2 red cards in hand, grabbing red seems good. White for strength would be pretty solid, but hypothetically we can eventually Sprouting Goblin to pull that off. Cavalier is big. Okay. I find myself moderately concerned here. I'm probably going to have to try to use Strength of the Coalition to eat a creature. If I block Cavalier, it'll be pretty obvious, I think. Oh, please enlist? You have no reason to enlist. You could just attack with the 1/1. Oh, they don't think I'm going to block with the Vine Wall. So they want to push through more damage, but I am most certainly going to block with the Vine Wall and open myself up to getting 2 for 1. Because tempo is important to me. Sweet. Love my opponent spending mana to do 1 damage to me instead of using it to do creature things. Oh, okay. Technically pulling off doing both. That makes sense. Sprouting Goblin with Kicker to turn on Domain. So we need blue and white. Do I have a blue and white? I don't. Which hypothetically was a... No, I took the red source so that I could play the Sprouting Goblin, so I couldn't have taken the other land to not take the red source. Of those, I've used up all of the white cards in my deck, so blue makes more sense than white. And more green sources makes sense, so we get the blue and green source, which might also be my only blue source here anyway. Okay. So we can trade with Baird if they attack with Baird. We can block 1/1s if they attack with 1/1s, which makes Knight of Dawn's Light their only unassisted clean attack. If they play... Okay, Citizen's Arrest taking Sprouting Goblin is not the most scariest thing in the entire world. They pump Knight of Dawn's Light, get more 1/1s. My life total is dangerous. Agni-Oth Sentry, meaning I miss a land drop if I play that. Alternatives, play Bog Badger, nothing in the graveyard to get back with Urborg Repossession to gain life. Hold up Terrace Sunder for 2 on Citizen's Arrest. I could Shadow Prophecy, hit an untap land, Terrace Sunder the Citizen's Arrest. That results in me losing 2 additional life, but gets a snap block on Baird that they're not expecting, and makes the land drop. That's probably the best out. I don't think we're winning this very much if we don't hit the lands. Do I hit both lands, or do I take... You're 4 right now because I don't have white, which means to me I think I take both lands. Play the untap land here, pass the turn. Next turn I can play Sentry plus Repossession back Vine Wall. I think we're trading with Baird and chump blocking Knight. This one's not looking great. Hello, Solkanar. Can I play you this turn? And then go to 1? Huh. Interesting. Probably correct. But definitely scary. I'm dead to a lot of things here. That's one of the things I'm dead to. Okay. Tap lands on the draws is tough. That's probably not surprising information. Why does Solkanar want to be Demonic Pact? Why doesn't every Magic card want to be Demonic Pact? Every Magic card should have some horrifying downside you have to weigh against at all times. Well, this has lands, so I think we keep lands. I'm going to operate under the assumption that I'm supposed to want to play Scout the Wilderness on 3 over Mana Worker on 2. Then we have to ask whether we would rather have a red source or a white source here. We are more likely to find red sources in the future. Scout the Wilderness gives us a use for a white source next turn. I think I'm probably supposed to Scout the Wilderness next turn. I'm going to be sad if I top deck exactly Solkanar. Or we could just draw the red source, I guess. Huh. I think we still are just supposed to kick Scout the Wilderness, though. Second black source, third green source, second red source. We already have another forest in hand anyway. So second black source. How am I feeling about the format so far? We haven't seen a ton of diversity in deck types. But that's just because I haven't played much. Looks like white-red aggro, blue-red spell aggro, 5-color domain and defender. It's like everything I've seen so far, I think. O2. Cool. Love the Vine Wall whiff. Very exciting. I feel like I am now kind of likely to lose. Maybe my opponent doesn't have anything this turn. Although of that I am skeptical. They have the +1/+1 counter and indestructible. Triple block doesn't accomplish anything, and I basically die no matter what. Likewise, if I double block Keldon Strike Team, that also is true. I have no good blocks through any combat trick whatsoever. I think I just gotta take this and hope. If we don't block with Nail, I think I'm just too likely to die. Okay. Well, this doesn't look so bad now. Do we think we attack with Nail here? 4 mana is committed to removing the Defiler of Faith. I have 2 blockers. I think I can actually afford to attack with Nail. Strength of the Coalition is cool. Sojourner is probably better. Sojourners feels like a really good way to use 3 mana. Boink. Boink. I believe we have just turned the corner successfully because opponent did in fact not actually have anything. Amazing when that happens sometimes, huh? What do we have in the graveyard that we can get back? Literally nothing. Cool. All right. Nail, continue please drawing cards and filling up our board with just all of the blockers. Every all blocker. Removal spell or 5 damage to face plus playing a 2/2. Probably removal spell plus 5 damage to face playing a 2/2. Actually, would we rather play a 2/2 than a 1/3? Probably would rather play a 2/2. Six mana, meaning opponent can do 3 damage to something during attacking. But instead they concede. Whee! Oh, you'll love to see it. Wow, I'm actually a little surprised we won that, considering it had to involve the opponent having 0 combat tricks. I'll take it though. Deeply radical. Do we finish the draft or do a sealed? Huh. I mean, that is a good question. That is a good question. Good question. What do we think, chat? Do I abandon this? Not like resign, but tell myself that I'm going to go finish it up off stream and then never do, and eventually it goes away. I wish someone had told me earlier that I was doing something I had absolutely no reason to do. Get that value? I don't need value. That's resigning with extra steps. Yeah, but I get to tell myself it's not resigning. Finish? Wow, nobody in chat has, like, any consideration for, like, my ability to be successful in Magic? What about my stream would ever give you the impression I know anything that's happening at any point in time? How could that possibly have been the takeaway? I think we switched to sealed.